Church bells have been ringing across Britain for centuries. The bells are used for many occasions, from the Sunday service to acts of remembrance and celebrations.
It's been lovely. I think it just really finishes the service and adds to the whole touch, and it's traditional. Kind of signifies to everybody around that it's been a special occasion. We've grown up around this church and had the bells ringing over the past few years, so yeah, it means a lot to us.
It's coordination, it's maths, it's cooperating with other people and trying to make a good sound together.
There's a lot of technique involved, and it's good fun. There's a lot of really helpful people that are always giving you suggestions, so that's really good.
Being associated with something that technology hasn't altered. It's that age-old tradition, and that's what I enjoy.
But there are fears the bells in many towers may fall silent because of a shortage of ringers.
It's a shortage, but need a little bit more.
I think a lot of people that live in the village like to hear them, and it becomes a regular occurrence. I think they would miss it if they'd gone.
Yeah, it would be a shame if that did happen. It's especially these local village churches.
One time when the nation's bells did fall silent was in 1914, as it was restricted as war broke out. 1,400 bell ringers were among the millions who died in World War I.
Oh, hello, nice to meet you.
Alan Regan has spent decades researching their stories.
So this book was written in 1924, and the names were collected by the Central Council of Church Bell Ringers, and it lists the ringers who were killed during the Great War, the First World War. And there was just over 1,100 ringers who were known about at that actual point.
Were there any towers in particular which were affected by losing their ringers during the Great War?
Indeed, so two towers in both lost 6 ringers. So one was Bamborough in Northumberland, and the other was Eddington Priory in Wiltshire. Bamborough was a ring of 8 bells, but losing 6 members would have been a significant loss, whereas Eddington Priory in those days had 6 bells. So effectively, a whole band were lost during that conflict. Everybody has their own story, but there was a chap, Edward John Hollocks, and he was just 18 when he was killed. So, you know, a very young man, but very many young men obviously went off to war, and he was one of those that didn't return.
When the guns fell silent as the Armistice was signed on the 11th of November 1918, church bells rang out in celebration of peace. Many people learned of the end of the war by the sound of the bells. On the 11th of November this year, to mark the centenary, Big Ben will be back in action to strike at 11 o'clock. And 1,400 new recruits are being sought to ring the bells of churches and cathedrals across the country.
The Ringer Remembers campaign is a campaign this year to recruit 1,400 new bell ringers in memory of the 1,400 that were known to have died in World War I. And all these new ringers will have the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to ring together on Armistice Day this year.
How's the campaign going so far?
Very successful. Bell ringing is incredibly popular, and we're almost hit that target right now.
Alongside his day job coordinating the campaign, Jamie is himself learning to ring.
I'm loving it. I haven't really learned a new skill like this since being in school. It's been a great process of feeling yourself get better at something. It's been a really rewarding and addictive feeling. And it's been very special to be involved in organising a campaign which has seen so much enthusiasm. And to be able to ring on that day 100 years later will be a very rewarding moment.
You may be surprised to know that church bells were being rung long before the time of the First World War. I caught up with Tower Captain Richard John to learn more about how bell ringing became a very British tradition.
In medieval times, when people didn't have clocks, it was used as the timepiece for the working day. The bell would ring to get you out of bed in the morning. It would tell you when to go to work, when lunchtime was, when to stop work in the evening, and also what we call the curfew bell when it was time to go to bed.
So people literally live their lives by the sound of the bells?
That's right. In this country, what we call change ring, That is where the bell swings through an arc of 360 degrees and then back through 360 degrees, rather than like a lot of the continent do, and just chime the bell.
So as the bell ringer pulls the rope, that then turns the wheel, and the wheel's attached to the bell, and as the bell swings, the clapper inside the bell makes the sound.
That's correct.
It's thought there are around 30,000 active bell ringers in the UK. Now, while that might seem like quite a few, there are fears as to how many there'll be in 10 or 20 years' time. That's why I've come here to St James's Church at Streatham in Cambridgeshire to see their Ringing Education Centre, which is inspiring the next generation of bell ringers. Now, do not adjust your set. The ropes visible here are deliberately preventing the bells from sounding. That's because here ringers are learning by using a simulator. A sensor detects movement of the bell wheel, so when the ringer pulls the rope, it produces a virtual bell sound in the ringing room.
It's really good, and it is at the heart of what we do here at the Ringing Education Centre, because it opens up so many more possibilities. The student can ring along with the simulator. They can practice any method on any number of bells. So I'm now going to make it play plain bob major. It's a good method. And the student could be ringing one bell. They can be practicing this method. They've got a perfect supporting band. It's really cool. It was a big help to me when I started learning.
2, treble's going, she's gone.
Well done.
11-year-old Sarah is one of Streatham's newest Ringing Remembers recruits.
It's going quite well, actually. I find it very enjoyable.
Yeah, I saw you pulling the rope all by yourself. I was amazed.
Yeah, I like making noise for the village.
Do you reckon they appreciate it as well?
Most of my friends do, so.
What would you say to your friends who might want to get into bell ringing?
Have a go, and the people around you will help you.
Do it in a controlled manner. Hey, well done.
Just enjoy yourself, really.
It's not only new ringers who are being taught at the Ringing Education Centre.
Once your iron's up, I just want you to pull gently all the way down.
I had a quick lesson with Steve, who has been ringing for 26 years and is now learning to teach others.
Basically anybody from like 9 to 90 can ring bells. Even older than 90 actually come to think of it. And younger than 9.
There you have it. It may be thirsty work, but bell ringing really is for everyone.
Stand!
If you'd like to have a pull, then you can contact Ringing Remembers or your local bell ringing association.